not to love the Surface Laptop Go. Microsoft basically took its premium Surface Laptop style, shrunk it down, and put in a 12.4-inch screen to create a really cute and adorable machine. And best of all, it starts at $549. How can you have a problem with that? It's almost impossible to find a truly premium feeling laptop under $1,000, and somehow Microsoft managed to pull it off. But after using the Surface Laptop Go for the past week, it's not too long before the issues really rise to the forefront. It won't take you long to learn what Microsoft compromised to create such a affordable machine. Its screen is surprisingly low res. For consumers, it maxes out with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And its case also is largely made out of plastic too, which I found kind of surprising. But here's the thing, I realize that for many users, kids and first-time PC buyers, or people who just don't really stress their machines, none of this would really matter. I think if anything, what Microsoft really accomplished with the Surface Laptop Go is that first impression, because from far away, it really does look like a miniature, adorable Surface laptop. But if you get up close, you'll notice a couple things. While the top part with the monitor has a metal case, the bottom is actually plastic. It's a polycarbonate material that Microsoft says has glass fibers woven in. It feels like really high quality plastic. It doesn't feel like something you'd find on like a cheap HP or Dell, but it's still plastic. It is not metal. Microsoft tells us that one reason they did that is just to keep the weight down, especially for a machine that may be aimed at kids. And you know, they did do a good job of that. This machine just weighs 2.45 pounds, which is noticeably lighter than the 2.8 pound Surface Laptop 3, and that's the 13-inch version. That might not seem like a huge difference at first, but I noticed as I was testing it that I was just handling it a little differently. I was able to, walk from room to room in my house while I'm staying here during the pandemic pretty easily. I didn't have to feel the actual weight of it. It felt more like an oversized tablet rather than a laptop.
Karl here, back with another one, and today we're reviewing the brand new Microsoft Surface Laptop Go. I think this might be one of the first units out, and I know Surface products, to me anyways, are slightly confusing in their complete lineup. We have a ton of different products, but generally speaking, their Go line is kind of their budget-friendly line, and the Surface Go 2, which I reviewed earlier in the year, that was the 2-in-1 hybrid tablet/laptop. I mentioned that it was a solid iPad competitor, but in the end, I'm not a fan of 2-in-1 designs. I don't like separate keyboards. I find them a bit clunky, but just in general, I'm more of a fan of a dedicated laptop with an actual keyboard, not to mention that the Surface Go 2 didn't really have a good processor inside. That's kind of where the Surface Laptop Go kind of fits in. This comes in at $550, and when you compare that to other Microsoft Surface laptops, the Surface Laptop 3, that's way more expensive, and it doesn't compromise too much with the internals. We've actually got a decent chipset of the 10th gen Intel Core i5, so it isn't too bad. It does cut a few corners. Let's of course take this out of the box first though, and then kind of go through that. And up slides the box, and just initially off of the box art, you can see it comes in a couple different colorways. This one is in the ice blue. It's actually my personal fave. The Surface Laptop Go up top, user manuals, warranty info, and of course the charging brick. And the nice part, this does use Microsoft's Snap charging cable. We can actually see that here over on the I/O ports, and quickly taking this plastic off. As this is booted up now, we can kind of see the first area in where Microsoft is trying to save a bit of money. So the screen size, it's a 12.4-inch panel with a res of 1536 by 1024. It isn't exactly the sharpest panel, but because the screen size is so small, it's a 3:2 aspect ratio. It honestly doesn't look too bad here. Maybe when I really start to pixel peep, but just using it as a standard laptop, whether you're watching web content, typing up a couple Word docs, it looks fine on the eyes from this distance at least. And the second thing, which is in the design/build of the device, and I kind of want to chat about that a bit, because when you buy a Surface product, the design of it looks gorgeous. The industrial finishing is great, the hinge mechanism is awesome, it feels premium, but the bottom is where they've made the sacrifice. So this is actually made out of a polycarbonate, it's a plastic. But on the flip side here, this is completely made out of aluminum, one piece, as well as the actual trackpad/keyboard area. All the area
on the market and what they offer and all that kind of stuff. but the Surface Laptop Go actually has its own place on the market for those who need something who depend on cloud storage, for example. They might not need all the extra bells and whistles that a fully fledged laptop that's not ARM-based would offer, or something that offers a lot more power. So without further ado, let's get into it and see what it's all about, what you get in the box, and my experience with the Surface Laptop Go. The Surface Laptop Go is the cheapest in the Surface family, yet it feels like a premium device aimed at those with cloud storage for all their files, people who like to connect to their server to work remotely, or just casual workers on the go. I would like to think that journalists, for example, or students who will mainly be browsing the web, writing their dissertations, theses, all that kind of stuff, would benefit from the Surface Laptop Go. This is not to be confused with the Surface Go, like I said already, with a detachable screen and essentially a tablet competing with the likes of the iPad Pro. With an Intel Core i5 processor in there and 8GB of RAM, 256GB of internal storage, especially with this version here, it's actually designed to do what it does best. Very efficient, the battery lasts very long, and it's very quick as well when browsing the web or opening multiple applications, multiple tabs in one go. There's also a base model with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of eMMC storage, but the eMMC storage used is not as fast as the SSD counterpart that we've got in this version here. So if you can afford it, I'd say step it up and go for the SSD version. Before I go a little bit further as well, inside the box you get everything you need. So you get your charger in there, so the proprietary charger, which we've all come to know with Surface family now, and you also get your user manual as well. So do give that a read if you need to understand what the laptop's all about before you start using it as well. And of course you get the Surface Laptop Go itself in this nice champagne gold, might not be the official color, but that's what I'm going to be calling this gold version that looks really nice and slick as well. This is actually a beautifully designed machine, and I actually love the look of it. It's something that I would take out in public with pride, and I love this aspect ratio, the keyboard, and a lot about the device as well. In terms of ports, you get proprietary charging ports, a USB-C port, and a full USB port for all your peripherals. If you want to connect old peripherals, you can do so as well. You don't get a full HDMI port, unfortunately, but you should be able to connect to an external display.
Isn't stuffed full of cash. So an alternative option for those on a budget might be this wee blighter here, Microsoft's Surface Laptop Go. It's certainly not as powerfully spec'd, but it starts from just 549 quid for the 64GB model, and it's just as pleasingly portable as them Chromebook jobbies, but with full proper Windows on board instead. Now you can grab yourself a Microsoft Surface Laptop Go from all of the usual retailers, Amazon, John Lewis, Currys, etc, right now. I've been using this dinky delight as my laptop for the last week or so, and here is my full in-depth Microsoft Surface Laptop Go review. And for more on the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now one of the highlights of this teeny wee notebook is definitely the ultralight and compact chassis, which only just tips the scales past 1 kilo. It's definitely great if you're traveling a lot, or at least if you're planning to, when the entire world isn't being crippled by some deadly disease. And despite that lightweight frame, the Surface Laptop Go feels solidly constructed in every area. That aluminium lid is nice and stiff with just a hint of flex to protect the display within, while the plastic body underneath certainly doesn't bend under pressure. And the same goes for that screen hinge too. It's just stiff enough to keep the display firmly in place. Now you've got 3 different designs of Surface Go laptop to choose from. You've got the fresh new ice blue version, which looks very snazzy. You've also got sandstone, otherwise you've got this platinum model. And I've got to say the platinum is probably the least exciting of the 3. It's basically just your bog standard boring silver. As with most dinky laptops, your selection of ports is also rather limited. You've got a single USB-A and USB-C connection, plus the usual Surface charger port and a headphone jack. And that's it. So if you love yourself a bit of tasty peripheral action, you're going to have to look elsewhere. But another area where Microsoft really impresses with the Surface Laptop Go is that chiclet keyboard, which stretches the full width of the laptop. No space is wasted here, and so despite that compact design, you're rewarded with a typing experience that's more comfortable than slipping into a velvet onesie and belly flopping your way into a sea of marshmallows. There's only the slightest hint of flex towards the centre of the board, and a surprising amount of travel as you strike each key as well, especially given that this is quite a skinny laptop. So I found that I could reach my top touch typing speed in no time at all. And it's also a super quiet laptop as well, even when you're in full flow. However, be warned that there's absolutely bugger all backlight in here, so the Surface Laptop Go is a proper pain to use at night if you don't want to disturb your bed partner. The laptop also features a good-sized trackpad, perfectly responsive to your swipes and your multi-touch gestures. And you've also got touchscreen controls here, although I did find that the pinch to zoom and some of the other multi-touch gestures often didn't work with the touchscreen. Now, the power button on the Microsoft Surface Laptop Go also has an integrated fingerprint sensor, which is really helpful if you find yourself on
Overview video talking about the Surface Laptop Go. And in the comment section, there were two types of responses. A lot of people saying the 4GB, 64GB eMMC storage model should not exist. And I absolutely agree with you. Like, Microsoft is saying that's aimed towards Chromebooks, but the problem is Chromebooks do a much better job running on lower spec hardware. Windows 10, on the other hand, not so much. You definitely need some more hardware inside of there to give you adequate performance. I think that SKU should just be removed from the table. Number two, you were saying that there are so many other laptops that offer better value, and you're absolutely right. If you're basing this on performance and specs, there are better laptops out there that will give you more for the money. But the thing is, I still think this is a special product. Like, this is a 12-inch device. Like, how many other 12-inch laptops out there can you think of that offer this type of experience? Like, I get it, you're thinking 12 inches is too small, but it's not, because Microsoft is using a 3:2 aspect ratio, which makes this display feel so much bigger than it really is. Like, this display feels just as big as the MacBook Airs or MacBook Pros. To give you guys some context on how small this laptop is, here's Microsoft's Surface Laptop 3, which is like your standard 13-inch form factor, and this is the 12.45-inch Surface Laptop Go. So much easier to carry, so much smaller to place in your bag.